Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. If you're joining me on Facebook, welcome back. If you're joining me on Twitter, you've always stayed 10 toes down. It is good to be back. We were on vacation, and by we, I mean me. That's what we do. On vacation, I went to Antigua. It was the first time I have ever been out of the country. If anybody follows me on Instagram, then I took you on the entire journey of me being able to get to Antigua. I had to go and get a passport, and I don't recommend anyone ever doing this, but I had to go and get a passport, and so because I didn't do the responsible thing and get the passport on time, I had to get it expedited. And unfortunately, I live in Georgia, so I wanted to go to the Atlanta office, but there were no appointments in the Atlanta office. In fact, of the 20-something offices in the United States, there was no there were no appointments. And then 3 days before I was supposed to leave for Antigua, that is when I was able to finally have an appointment open up in San Francisco. So became the entire long journey of me getting from Savannah to San Francisco and then down to Orlando in order to take my flight to Antigua. But I got there and it was beautiful. And I had a great time with great friends. It really was relaxing. It was fun. I can't wait until the next time I'm able to take another trip. But I am happy to be back. A lot of things going on in the sports world, and I got to just talk about it because if I don't, then this will be a 2-hour-long Talk Spicy, and that's just not what we do. A lot of quarterbacks getting paid, and quarterbacks are getting paid at a regular clip these days, and I think it's interesting that they're getting paid at a regular clip because, that's the going rate. That's the going rate. And because quarterbacks are getting paid at a regular clip, Kyler Murray just got his ridiculous amount of money. Because they're getting paid at a regular clip, it's asinine to me that Lamar Jackson hasn't been paid yet. And then to hear all of the commentary about why he should not be paid, it's staggering to me. There are people who are making the argument that Lamar Jackson does not deserve to be paid like an elite level quarterback when Lamar Jackson has played like an elite level quarterback his entire career. Whenever you talk about Lamar Jackson struggling, you talk about it in a vacuum. You talk about it in a small sample size. Oh, look at this game where Lamar Jackson struggled. You don't say, hey, Lamar Jackson had a bad season. Let people not forget that last year, Lamar Jackson was on pace to throw for over 4,000 yards and rush for over 1,000. That was Lamar Jackson last year. He got hurt. His problem wasn't that he wasn't good. The reason that his team didn't go to the playoffs is because he didn't play all the games. That's different than what we see from other quarterbacks who may have a spell of times where they don't play well. And somehow, while Lamar Jackson was just out being Lamar Jackson and then getting injured, somehow a bunch of quarterbacks were able to pass him without doing anything. Literally, Josh Allen played the worst secondary defense I've ever seen in my entire life out of Kansas City. Kansas City played the worst secondary defense I've ever seen when they played against Josh Allen in the playoffs last year. And yet, now that has become the one game that they go to in order to justify why Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league. The one game, not a series of games, not a game that he won, but a game that he lost, where they say, well, he was 60 seconds away from going to not to the Super Bowl, but going to the AFC Championship. He was 60 seconds away from going to have the right to play to go to the Super Bowl. And that's his game. Doesn't matter what else he's done. No one even brings up his first season in the league. No one brings up the first half of the second season in the league. They only talk about that one game. And then they compile his stats together to make him look great. Justin Herbert has not been able to elevate his team to anything. He has not been able to elevate his team to any type of level that would tell you he is the man. When his team is out there, right? When his team is out there, he does not give them a better chance to win. How do we know that? Because they're not winning with him. His wins above replacement has to be awful. Why? Because they're not winning with him. But all the excuses get made. Oh, he doesn't have that. He doesn't. What? First off, they invested a lot of money in the offensive line. So if the offensive line is not good, isn't that kind of what the quarterback's supposed to elevate? They invested a lot of money in their wide receivers, a lot of draft capital in their wide receivers. They have an excellent receiving core. They had a bunch of tight ends. They have running backs. They have a defense that they've invested draft picks in. They have everything that you need to win when a quarterback is able to elevate everybody to another level. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't elevate. He gets a lot of stats. He is the new Matthew Stafford. And yet, somehow, he's been able to become a top 5 quarterback in the league. Why is it that stats don't matter for some, but matter for others? Why is it that wins only matter for some, but don't matter for others? They're quick to tell you, oh, Joe Burrow took his team to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's a winner. But at the same time they're doing that, what has Joe Burrow won in the league? We want to say he won an AFC championship? Okay, cool. We could do that. Now, I say all of that not because I don't like those quarterbacks. I think Joe Burrow's a great quarterback. I think that Justin Herbert has done a complete 180 from the quarterback that he was in college to now. I think that Josh Allen is getting the most out of his talent. He is the closest thing to Cam Newton that we had. By the way, how good would Cam Newton be if Cam Newton played in this NFL? Cam Newton may have been just a few years too early at the start of his career. Could you imagine that 8 to 9 year run if it had started, let's say, 3 years ago instead of, when it started? When he didn't have to hear people try to tell us that, quarterbacks who couldn't even hold his jock strap was better than him. Guys who were terrible in the league were better than him. Guys who weren't that great in college. Blaine Gabbert. Like, that's what they were telling us is better than him. It's not the first time, obviously. Won't be the last time. Happens all the time. That's what we deal with. But man, people are out here getting paid, and people keep justifying why Lamar Jackson should not be paid. Now, I'm going to say that to say, if everybody else is getting paid, Lamar Jackson should be paid. He probably should be the highest paid quarterback in the league because of what his team asked him to do. They asked him to be the leading rusher on the team, and they asked him to be the quarterback. Mutually individual, right? Boom. Now, here's another problem. Because of these contracts, and it's really not now, it's been a while, but because of the money that people are dedicating to the quarterback position, seems to make it pretty hard to win. Seems to make it pretty damn difficult in order to win. So then my question becomes, when do we start devaluing the quarterback? Nobody's ready to have that conversation. So I won't have it right now. But I'm going to tell you, at some point, we're going to have to start devaluing the quarterback based off of what the quarterback brings once they get their money. Right? If we just start thinking about what the quarterback brings to the table once they get their money, it's going to be time to start asking ourselves the question of why are we paying these quarterbacks? Like, why are we giving these quarterbacks so much money? Why are we giving these quarterbacks so much money that it seems as if it cripples our team? It's just giving them generational wealth. We almost don't have anybody else on an NFL team that has generational wealth, right? If we're just talking about the players, right? If we're just talking about the players, which players in the league have generational wealth? Get a chance to occupy generational wealth. If you're a good quarterback, you're going to get 2 bites at the apple, right? Because your rookie contract, thanks to the idiots in the NFL PA, is no longer the max me out as soon as I come to the NFL contract. So if you're a good quarterback, you're going to make it through your first 4 years, and they're probably going to extend you. That's your first bite at the apple. Year number 7 to 8, you're going to get another extension, right? Especially because most quarterbacks are coming into the league early 20s, right? 21. So at contract negotiation number 1, because the first contract's not really negotiated, that's slotted in guaranteed. At that first contract negotiation, they're going to be 24, 25. At that second contract negotiation, depending upon the type of contract that they sign, that's going to be 28, 29. And then if you're a great, you're going to get that third bite at the apple. I'm not talking about a third contract. I mean a third bite at the apple, right? So at 24, 25, you're going to sign. It's been that you've been signing somewhere in the $100 million range. That's been for a while now. It was anywhere between 25 or 20 and 30 million. Now that number's anywhere between 30 and 40 million. And if you're good, you're getting another contract in another couple of years, another few years. So you're going to be able to make well over $200 million while being in the league. That's generational wealth. Your favorite defensive lineman, wide receiver, DB, if they get to 100 million, it's a win. You got to think about all the stuff they got to pay for, right? Agent gets a piece. Uncle Sam's taking a large chunk. So if you're a running back, your Apple, you might get one. You might get one. Your best chance is to get drafted early and get the guaranteed money on your 4 years that you get from the rookie contract. That's your best bet. That second contract you get or that first negotiation you get, they're going to tell you you're devalued. Anyway, my point being, with these quarterbacks making all this money, who actually is winning Super Bowls? Tom Brady. If you eliminate Tom Brady after his first 5 years, who's winning championships? Well, we just saw, are we still going to sit here and tell people that the Rams won that Super Bowl because Matthew Stafford was special? Or are we going to just say what it is? They had a special defense full of special players, and when it was clutch, that defense decided you're not moving the ball anymore. We can try to say Matthew Stafford was the reason, but we saw them make a Super Bowl with the guy that they replaced with Matthew Stafford. So with Stafford there, who else? When you go and look around, all of the guys who won Super Bowls did it in the first 5 years. Now, it has nothing to do with the quarterback. It has to do with the type of team you can put around the quarterback before you have to pay the quarterback $40 million a year, $50 million a year, $35 million a year. I don't care how much the salary cap goes up. If you have a chance to pay a rookie on the rookie wage scale, where they're getting, $5 and $6 million a year? When you have a chance to do that, as opposed to paying them $25, $30, $40 million a year, it's going to allow you to take that money and put it into other areas. This is why I believe Daniel Jones is done in New York. He's blown by that window. Even if he's good this year, is he so good that we should pay him this money? That's going to be the question. Even if he's good, is he so good that we need to pay him this money? That'll be what needs to be answered. I don't know the answer. Well, yes, I do. No, he's not that good. You don't need to pay him that money. And that's what GMs will have to now decide. That's what the conversation should have been in Arizona. Hey, we're not paying Kyler Murray this money right now because we don't know if he's not out there, if what we get in return will net the same results as we're getting right now. We know that if you take Lamar Jackson out of the Ravens, we've seen what it looks like. Some guys can perform, but the wins are not coming. They're not coming, not the same way. We know that. As much as we try to act like we don't, we know it. The wins are not coming. And so if we're just going to act as if that's the case, but not open up the fact that, man, every time we pay these quarterbacks, we seem to not be able to win anymore. Simple solution, right? Don't pay the quarterbacks. But then that becomes another, because everybody's got to be on the same page. The same way they're on the same page when it comes to the running backs, right? Except every once in a while you see a running back get paid. Every once in a while you see somebody pay Christian McCaffrey, which they should, right? But that devaluing would bring the cost of quarterback play down, because they realize, hey, we just can't keep paying these guys this much money, and let them hold out and see how the holdout works. When you just say, hey, I'm just not going to pay you, or trade them away for $1 billion draft picks like Seattle did. Not because we're not going to pay you because we've already paid you, but because Seattle looked up and said, we're not winning a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson anymore. We can't afford it. It'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll be talking about it, because Lamar needs his money because everybody else has their money. But the question overall should be, should anybody be getting money like this? You know, speaking of money, coaches are getting paid. Kirby Smart just got paid $100 billion. It wasn't $1 billion. I think it was $100 million over whatever. It's making him one of the highest paid coaches, if not the highest paid coach in the league, until Alabama comes back and makes Nick Saban the highest paid coach in the league, because he should be, right? And I found it odd that Kirby Smart was signing to get this money while also kind of saying that players, we have to be careful about how we give players money, because they shouldn't be getting more money coming in than the people who've been there. I don't know if Kirby Smart knows how business works, but you only get the money you negotiate. Kirby Smart negotiated that deal. When Kirby Smart took over the job at Georgia, he was getting paid more money than some of the other coaches in the SEC who had already been head coaches. So why should he be any different? Right? He came into a job with no head coaching experience and received more money in his first year per year than some of the other coaches in the SEC who had been doing the job for years. I didn't hear anybody say, oh man, we got to regulate how we pay these coaches because we can't pay them more than the other coaches who have been in the league, because that's not right. They got to earn it, right? It's not how business works. That's why Kirby Smart turned down a bunch of other jobs. He was able to hold out for the job that he wanted, then negotiate the money that he received, and took the deal. It's the same thing for players. They are able to hold out for the scholarship offer that they want. And then when they have those scholarship offers, they're able to line up the NIL deals that they will receive. And once they find the deal, they go there. Who cares what the players who are there already are making? That's not that player's fault. But there's a larger problem here. Why are we still sitting around trying to pocket watch these players for NIL money when the school is giving these coaches exorbitant contracts? We're worried about an NIL deal, an endorsement deal, which, by the way, none of that $10 million a year or $11 million a year that Kirby Smart's going to get, $12 million, none of that is endorsement money. That's money that's being paid from the school. a public school to the coach. He can make more money in his name, image, and likeness. So then why are we sitting here pocket watching these kids who are not getting any money from the school? I digress. So, right, Kirby Smart signs for $12 million a year. Let's just say they paid him $10 million a year. Because if Kirby Smart just got a contract extension, that also means all of the assistants just got contract extensions, right? So that's the money they don't even tell you about. Hey, we're going to pay Kirby Smart $12 million a year, but there's a good chance his coordinators are getting $1 million. I digress. Y'all don't care. Just play a fight song, right? Who cares about this money? I do. Let's say if we paid Kirby Smart $10 million a year instead of 12, and then we took that $2 million and divided it amongst the, let's just say 90 players on the team. That would mean we'd be able to give each player $22,000 a year. $22,000 a year. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, because it's not, right? But it's something. It's something. You add that $22,000 a year onto what you're giving them for their scholarship and whatever the money that they were getting before through the scholarship. So let's say if they got $1,000 a month in their scholarship, well, now you're giving them $3,500 a month. Changes things, right? Rewind. Let's say you gave Kirby Smart $8 million a year and you took $4 million and gave it to the players. You could equally, right? Because Kirby Smart was on equal. You could equally give each player $44,000 a year. What am I missing? Why do people keep telling me they don't have money to pay players when they're paying coaches? Why do people keep acting as if name, image, and likeness deals are compensation from the school, are compensation from the conference, compensation from the NCAA? Here's how it should happen. Players should be getting paid 3 tiers before they ever have to worry about endorsement money. That means they should be getting paid 3 different ways before they have to worry about endorsement money. They should be getting something from the NCAA and all the money that they make every year. They should be getting something from the conference and all the money they make every year. And they should be getting something from the school and all the money they make every year. And that would be depending upon the league. The NCAA. That means every Division I FBS team would get the same amount of money distributed to their players. Every single one of them. The conferences would be based off of what each conference money makes. So now the SEC players are going to get more money than the ACC players because the SEC has a better contract. They have a better contract than the Atlantic 10. I guess that's a bad example because that's a, basketball conference, but you get what I'm saying. And then individual schools. Alabama makes more money than Vanderbilt does for football. So Alabama It's going to pay their players more. But everybody can't go to Alabama because now that Alabama actually can pay these players, they can be even more selective than they already are. Because they're saying, hey, nobody can pay you what we pay you unless you get more money from NIL deals. But what it will do is make sure that every player at every school gets money. Oh, but coach, that's not, it's Title IX and blah, 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 blah. No, because this is no longer amateur sports. The truth is, football hasn't been amateur for a very long time. So why should we still continue to act as if it is? This is developmental professional sports. You got the same pressures. You got the same rabid fan bases. You got the same type of money flowing through it, except you don't have to pay the workers. Imagine the audacity of the NFL to say, hey, we're going to make money. We're going to pay our coaches ridiculous amounts of money, but we're not going to pay you players. The only way you can make money is off endorsement deals. Then we're going to limit how much money you can make in an endorsement deal before we can come in and start giving your money to other players. Or we're going to set up endorsement deals for you where you're the one that's clearly bringing in the money, but it's going to go to all your teammates. Huh? You got to be kidding me. This ain't life. This can't be real. We got to stop pocket watching these players, and we got to start looking at what the real problem is, and that is they don't get paid. They're getting money, but they're not paid. Everybody doesn't get money. Only a small handful of people are going to get money when they all should be getting paid. And until we tackle that, I don't want to hear another word from these coaches out here getting these millions, talking about how we're supposed to coach them. They ain't never did nothing. You didn't say that when you flew a helicopter onto the lawn on the 50-yard line of the football field to recruit them, and you stepped off the helicopter, dripped in whatever it is you were wearing, Tom Ford suit, random recruiting assistants on your arms. Nobody said anything. The recruiting budget of Georgia alone is enough to give the players money to compensate them for what they do on the field. The recruiting budget alone. You know, the World Championships just finished, and it was great to watch the USA dominate in so many different ways. It started becoming interesting because the broadcast seemed to all point to, we need to pay more attention to track and field in the States. And it was like a showcase. Oh, well, these United States players need to be stars and blah, 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 blah. But there's a problem. When do we see these track and field athletes? Right? There is no week-to-week season where we see these athletes. Athing Mu only ran a few times this year before she ran in the World Championships. Well, before she ran in the trials or the American Championships, US Championships, and then the World Championships. We only saw Sydney McLaughlin a couple times before we saw her in the U.S. Championships and then the World Championships. Like, when their season is here, we pay attention. When there's a U.S. Championships, when there's a World Championships, when there's an Olympics, we pay attention. It's not our fault that you people have not figured out a way to get these people to run on a week-to-week basis for a period of time throughout the year. That's how leagues work. That's how stars are made. We see basketball players consistently for 6 months out the year. We see football players consistently for 6 months out the year. We see baseball players consistently for 6 months out the year. Of course they're going to become household names. Of course they're going to become stars. We see them all the time. Why do you think it's so hard for MMA fighters to become stars? We don't see them all the time. The visibility or the love that you want us to show these players is based off of flawed model. And I'm not complaining because I pay attention. But if you want to see something better, then you have to set up an entity. You have to set up an entity that allows for track athletes to be seen on a regular basis. You have to find a way for these track athletes to go for greatness, not just for gold. Go for greatness. I feel like there were some opportunities missed. Now, I know people were saying once Fred Kerley bowed out that there was some type of issue. But all we heard at the end of the 200 was that he cramped up. Well, I've had cramps. I've cramped up in a track meet. And I've hydrated. And 2 days later, I was fine. Now, I'm not Fred Kerley, so I don't know. But if you want stars, Fred Kerley's got to be on that 4x100 team. He's got to be on that 4x400 team, and you've got to shatter a world record. You want stars. Stars happen with world records. Usain Bolt is only Usain Bolt because he broke world records. That's it. Michael Johnson is only Michael Johnson because he broke world records. If you're not breaking world records, then you're not going to be a household name in track and field. You're going to be somebody that people know, but you're not going to be someone that the casuals know. Because it takes more than just winning. Sydney McLaughlin is a star. Why? Because every time she touches the track, there's a chance she's going to break a world record. This woman just ran a 47-second split in the 4x400. People are already saying she has the ability to break a world record in a race she doesn't even run. That's how talented she is. That's why she's a star. If you want to make more stars, you got to do that. Why do you think the guy went to Sweden in order to do a pole vault, in order to pole vault? He went pro and he represents Sweden, even though he was raised here in the United States. Why? Because in Sweden, they treat their track athletes better. Duh. We have to understand that in order for you to endear yourself in the States, you have to be great. And greatness will then bring the attention that you want. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. We're back. We'll see you tomorrow. Till next time. Peace.